This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Friday, August 23rd, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Kamala Harris accepts the nomination and tells America to reject Donald Trump. I'm Steve Futterman at the Democratic Convention in Chicago.
The Supreme Court has rejected a Republican push that could have blocked more than 41,000 Arizona voters in the presidential race. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
The Trump campaign laying out immigration policies at the southern border. I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, stocks are coming off a losing day ahead of the Fed chair's speech on interest rates and the economy later today. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
The family of West Virginia Governor and Republican Senate candidate Jim Justice have reached a deal that avoids a foreclosure on the 60-acre Greenbrier Resort. I'm Jennifer King.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Kamala Harris took to the stage at the DNC to deliver her acceptance speech for the Democrat Party presidential nomination. Correspondent Steve Futterman reports.
I accept your nomination.
On night 4, it was time for the candidate to present both her case and her story to the American people.
My mother would say, stay close. But my father would say, run, Kamala, run.
Kamala Harris talked about her upbringing, her mother from India, her father from Jamaica. Once that was done, she moved on to the choice facing the country.
This election is one of the most important in the life of our nation.
Harris called for unity and the end of division.
Our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness.
But she also laid out the case against Donald Trump.
We know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025. But America, we are not going back. We are not going back.
She attacked Trump and Republicans on their stance on abortion.
He and his allies would limit access to birth control, ban medication abortion, and enact a nationwide abortion ban. Simply put, they are out of their minds.
Harris said she supports a comprehensive immigration bill and blamed Trump for blocking what she said would have been the toughest border bill in history. In the Middle East, Harris took America's traditional stance supporting Israel, but also talked about the thousands who have been killed in the Gaza war.
President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
At the very end, she called upon Americans to make the right choice.
To fight for this country we love, to fight for the ideals we cherish.
The evening ended with Harris and Tim Walz and their families all standing on stage as the traditional balloon drop took place. I'm Steve Futterman at the Democratic Convention in Chicago.
The Supreme Court has issued its decision on a voter identification suit from Arizona. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has details.
The Supreme Court has rejected a push that could have blocked more than 41,000 Arizona voters in the presidential race. But in a 5-4 vote, the nation's highest court allowed some regulations, barring people from registering to vote if they don't provide proof of citizenship. The justices acted on an emergency appeal filed by state and national Republicans that sought to give full effect to voting measures enacted in 2022, following President Joe Biden's narrow win over Donald Trump in Arizona. Donald Trump spoke to reporters on the decision shortly after it was announced.
I do have some good news, though, for the people standing behind me in particular, and maybe for some of the press that wants to hear good things. The Supreme Court just ruled that you're not allowed to have illegal aliens vote. Just came out just before I walked up. So illegal aliens are officially not allowed to vote in our country. And I give great credit to the Supreme Court. They have great courage.
The legal fight will continue in lower courts. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year. Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. Trump at the southern border when America in the Morning continues after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Thanks for listening on where those downpours can be expected today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
The southeast, in particular Florida, continues to be the place where showers and thunderstorms will be most numerous both today and on Saturday, with a disturbance over the eastern Gulf of Mexico providing plenty of precipitation over the next couple of days. Such prolific downpours will lead to wide-ranging impacts, including travel disruptions from both urban and flash flooding, and even waterspouts due to the turbulent pattern. While Sunday is not looking dry, the worst of the impacts should taper off by that point of the weekend, despite showers and thunderstorms continuing. To the north and east of there, Friday means another rain-free and comfortable day from the interior southeast through the eastern Great Lakes and straight through New England in a rather pleasant pattern for late August. A steady warming trend will accompany these conditions through Saturday before the heat and humidity start to build more noticeably by the end of the weekend, and on Sunday there can be some showers from portions of the Midwest to the interior Northeast, with even more humid conditions as showers spread toward the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic coast for Monday. In the west, showers and even some thunderstorms spread farther inland through the Pacific Northwest as a storm pushes eastward, and even Montana faces some spotty afternoon thunder showers. Afternoon monsoon thunderstorms continue yet another day in and around the Four Corners states, but areas in between, such as southern Idaho, much of Nevada, and central and southern California should be dry. Spotty thunderstorms can even extend into the parts of the Central Plains and the upper Midwest, with even southern Wyoming in line for a stray thunderstorm risk later today. In Tallahassee, Florida, expect cloud with showers and a thunderstorm and a high of 87. Wichita, Kansas has a mostly sunny and breezy Friday in store today with a high of 94. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Former President Trump is touting his immigration policies as the presidential campaign trail moves to the southern border. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Former President Trump visited the Arizona-Mexico border as he targets his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris's immigration policies, or what he says is a lack of a border plan. He laid out what things would be like at the border if he returns to the White House.
10-year mandatory minimum sentence for anyone guilty of human smuggling. A guaranteed life sentence for anyone guilty of child trafficking. And a death penalty for anyone guilty of child or woman sex trafficking.
Trump also promised to impose the death penalty on major drug dealers and traffickers.
In other countries, on their immigration papers, there's a statement that says, death for drug traffickers. Big letters, big bold letters, 10 times the size of everything else on the page. I saw it this morning. And those are the countries where they have no problem with drugs.
Trump focused heavily on crimes committed by illegal immigrants in the U.S. and doubled down on his pledge to end a surge of migration. I'm Clayton Neville.
A federal jury has ruled a Pennsylvania school district violated a teacher's constitutional rights after falsely suggesting he took part in the Capitol riot on January 6th. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer is following the case.
Jurors found that the Allentown School District retaliated against Jason Moorhead when it suspended him after the deadly insurrection in Washington. Moorhead attended Donald Trump's Stop the Steal rally, but says he never got closer than a mile to the Capitol. Jurors decided that the school district should pay Moorhead $125,000 for economic damages. The jury also found that 2 school board members acted maliciously or wantonly and ordered them to pay punitive damages. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Kamala Harris price control policy when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after stocks fell yesterday, taking a breather from the rally under some pressure as bond yields rose. And ahead of Fed Chair Jay Powell's speech today on interest rates and the economy, that's at the Jackson Hole Economic Summit. With the S&P 500 index up 17% for the year right now, some say a normal pullback is in the cards.
We should pause a little bit. It's just a pause ahead of the election where people get a little bit nervous. Typically what happens after the election, you tend to get a nice rally into year-end.
Bank of America's Steve Futterman on CNBC. The FDA has approved updated Pfizer and Moderna COVID vaccines. The virus is surging in the U.S. and shots should be available within days. Existing home sales for July broke a 4-month losing streak. There are signs of life in the home selling business.
These are closings. So sale contracts signed in May and June when mortgage rates were still over 7%. We're now down to around 6.5%. But the good news is that supply is rising. 1.33 million homes for sale at the end of the month, up a whopping 19.8% year over year. The median price of a home sold in July was $442,600. That's up 4.2% year over year. But it is no longer the all-time high price.
CNBC's Diana Olick. The average rate on a 30-year home loan this morning is about 6.48%, according to Mortgage News Daily. TJ Maxx and Marshall's parent TJX Companies had another winning quarter. Shoppers love that cheaper clothing.
Trading down is the new dressing up, where the millennial and Gen Z generations are spending a lot more of their money in the value channel.
Bank of America's Lorraine Hutchinson on CNBC. Walmart and Burger King teaming up. Walmart Plus members get 25% off digital BK meal orders every day. Peloton shares soared more than 30% yesterday. Its turnaround plan is starting to take hold. It lost less money in the last quarter.
What's going on with the plan that Kamala Harris has announced to combat price gouging?
Well, the plan is to hold retailers, especially grocery stores, but all retailers, accountable when they're charging really more than they have to, especially in emergencies. Happens all the time with gas stations who suddenly raise prices right after a hurricane.
What it is being sure that there's a cop on the beat in emergency situations, making sure that there aren't bad actors out there taking advantage of the American consumer. This is the type of authority that we see in 40 different states, red states and blue states alike.
Former Harris economic advisor Mike Pyle on CNBC. On today's watch list, we get newly built home sales numbers for July. New in theaters, Amazon MGM's mystery thriller Blink Twice and Lionsgate's The Crow.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger, with a look at Friday business. The family of West Virginia Governor Jim Justice has reached a deal to avoid the foreclosure of their Greenbrier Resort. Correspondent Jennifer King explains.
The Rambling Hotel in White Sulphur Springs, known for golf, mineral water, and a historic underground bunker, came under threat of auction after J.P. Morgan Chase sold the remainder of a long-standing loan to a collection company. In a statement, the Justice family says it has reached an agreement with Beltway Capital to receive a specific amount to be paid in full by October 24th. A separate auction involving the residential Greenbrier Sporting Club and $300 million in bank loans has been delayed in court. Jim Justice bought the resort out of bankruptcy from the CSX Rail Company in 2009, but since his election in 2017, his daughter Jill Justice has been running the company. The resort was hit by flood damage in 2016 and pandemic shutdowns in 2020. I'm Jennifer King.
When we return, German warship in London and own a piece of the rock. Those stories next. America in the Morning, back after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Germany is defending the actions of one of its warships as it sailed down the River Thames through London. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
The warship was in for training and dropped anchor in London for a normal supply stop. On the way in, their selection of music blasting from the ship is making waves. It's Imperial March, Darth Vader's theme song from the Star Wars movies. The German Navy says there is no deeper message in the song choice. The commander can choose the music freely. And the German embassy says the commander is a big Star Wars fan and an admirer of the legendary musical scores of John Williams. I'm Ed Donahue.
One of the largest diamonds ever found has been unearthed at a mine in Botswana. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
The government believes the huge 2,492-carat stone is the biggest discovered in the country. Canadian mining company Lucara Diamond said in a statement that it recovered the exceptional rough diamond from its Karo mine in western Botswana. It's unclear if the diamond is of a high gem quality, but that weight would make it the largest diamond found in more than 100 years and the second largest dug out of a mine after the Cullinan diamond was discovered in South Africa in 1905. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
America in the Morning for Friday, August 23rd, 2024 is produced by Alexander Hinton. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The Supreme Court chiming in on a controversial election law in Arizona. I'm Clayton Neville.
A second former Memphis police officer expected to change his not guilty plea in the deadly beating of a man following a traffic stop. I'm Bob Brown. I'll have that story coming up.
Sales of previously occupied homes ended a 4-month lull in July. I'm Jennifer King.
An announcement could come soon on more U.S. aid for Ukraine. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Another week in Hollywood, another remake. This time, The Crow. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning on this, the fourth of 5 Fridays in the month of August. Here's the national forecast from AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Friday brings yet another day of rain-free conditions with low humidity to areas from New England and the eastern Great Lakes southward across the Ohio Valley and part of the Tennessee Valley, and even into interior sections of the southeast. A gradual warming trend continues into Saturday with similarly dry conditions, but by the end of the weekend, showers can develop across parts of the Midwest and interior sections of the Northeast as the heat and humidity build before a better chance for showers across the Northeast on Monday. In terms of areas where precipitation is likely to be more widespread and even more significant today, a storm stalled over the southeast means that frequent showers and thunderstorms will persist not only today but into the start of the weekend. These continued downpours are expected to present the risk for both urban and flash flooding that can cause travel disruptions for those with weekend plans. In addition to these risks, the active pattern can lead to choppy seas for those who will be on the water through Saturday, as well as the potential for waterspouts. In the central and southern plains, mainly dry conditions are expected as well, with a heat wave continuing into at least Saturday, as hot and mostly dry weather hangs on from central and west Texas northward through Oklahoma and southern Kansas. AccuWeather real field temperatures can approach 110 degrees from southern Louisiana through southeast Texas. Spotty thunderstorms are instead expected for much of the northern plains. For the west, another afternoon of monsoon thunderstorms is in store around the Four Corners region, with dry conditions from Nevada into California. A storm crossing the Pacific Northwest will mean showers and even some thunderstorms from northern California through Washington, with afternoon thundershowers for much of Montana. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Thursday was the final night of the Democrat National Convention. Correspondent Steve Futterman looks back at the week's star-studded appearances.
The convention wrapped up here in Chicago last night with Kamala Harris giving a rousing speech to the party faithful.
Let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told.
It was the culmination of one of the most unified Democratic conventions ever. It featured speakers going after Donald Trump, like Hillary Clinton.
So it is no surprise, is it, that he is lying about Kamala's record, He's mocking her name and her laugh. Sounds familiar. But we have him on the run now.
On Tuesday, the convention was captivated by two speeches by the Obamas. Barack,
we do not need 4 more years of bluster and bumbling and chaos. We have seen that movie before, and we all know that the sequel is usually worse.
And former First Lady Michelle Obama.
For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
The vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz, who Harris loves to call coach, used football analogies in his speech.
Our job for everyone watching is to get in the trenches and do the blocking and tackling. 1 inch at a time. We got 76 days. That's nothing. There'll be time to sleep when you're dead. We're going to leave it on the field.
And there was also a sprinkling of Republicans who came to speak here as well. Former Trump press secretary Stephanie Grisham.
Here I am, behind a podium, advocating for a Democrat. And that's because I love my country more than my party.
The evening ended with the traditional balloon drop. The next major event is likely to be on September 10th. That's when the first Trump-Harris debate is scheduled. I'm Steve Futterman at the Democratic Convention in Chicago.
The U.S. Supreme Court is weighing in on a controversial election law in Arizona. Correspondent Clayton Neville has that story.
The High Court ruled on a law that requires voters to document their U.S. citizenship in order to vote in November's presidential election. In a 5-4 decision, Supreme Court justices kept a lower court's ban on that law in place. Former President Trump has voiced concern about undocumented immigrants casting a ballot.
I'm telling you, they're signing people. That's what they're doing. And I believe now that that's why they're allowing these people to come in. People that don't speak our language, they're signing them up to vote. And I believe that's why you're having millions of people pour into our country.
The idea of widespread election fraud still being touted by some in Arizona, including political candidates. But Democratic Senator Mark Kelly says that's getting old.
We all know people like this, right? You knew kids like this in middle school and in high school. They just would not accept a loss.
The senator spoke with USA Today.
Carrie Lake is still trying to overturn the 2022 election where she lost. She's still in court, or has been recently in court over that election. She will not accept the outcome. Same thing for 2020. She still says Donald Trump won Arizona in 2020. He did not.
Well, the proof of citizenship requirement is still being kicked around the courts and hasn't gone into effect in Arizona. The Supreme Court did rule in favor of other Republican-backed regulations. The state is allowed to bar people from voting in state and local elections if they can't provide proof of citizenship when they register to vote. I'm Clayton Neville.
Former President Trump makes a trip to visit the southern border. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
Former President Donald Trump invited several families of victims allegedly killed by migrants in the U.S. illegally to join him at the unfinished border wall in Sierra Vista, Arizona.
She wants our country to be open to the world's criminals.
Former President Trump, on the eve of Kamala Harris's acceptance speech, brought the immigration issue front and center in Cochise County, Arizona.
She will not mention the victims. She won't even talk about it.
Trump ticked through a list of brutal crimes blamed on people who were living in the U.S. illegally, joined by some families of victims, including the mother of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaray, kidnapped and killed in Houston, allegedly by two migrant men.
We're losing very innocent people to heinous crimes.
She urged people to vote for Trump.
These people want to go back to the safe past.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
When we return on America in the Morning, among the stories we're covering, update on the sinking of that super yacht and the cryptocurrency that Mick isn't. When America in the Morning returns after these messages. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. A second former Memphis police officer is expected to change his plea in connection to the deadly beating of a motorist last year. Correspondent Bob Brown has details.
A second former Memphis police officer facing charges in the deadly beating of Tyre Nichols during a traffic stop is expected to change his not guilty plea. Nichols was pummeled by a group of police officers in January of 2023. The horrible sounds caught on police body cam as Nichols was reportedly dragged from his vehicle, then running from the officers who caught up with him minutes later, the scene igniting a call for police reform.
Get on the ground! I think I tased you! Get on the ground! I know! One! Now! All right, okay, all right.
Nichols was calling out for his mother while lying on the ground. All this happening just a block away from his house. He died 3 days later on January 10th. The officer, Emmett Martin, is set to appear in court later today and change his plea as part of an agreement with prosecutors. Another former Memphis police officer, Desmond Mills, has already pleaded guilty to federal charges of excessive force and obstruction of justice and has agreed to cooperate with prosecutors who recommended a 15-year prison sentence. Jury selection in Martin's trial is scheduled for September 9th. 3 other fired officers are charged with federal civil rights violations as well as second-degree murder charges. An autopsy report showed Nichols died from blows to the head. Tyre Nichols is black. The officers involved in the deadly beating are also black. I'm Bob Brown.
Home sales saw a slight increase in July. With a closer look, here's correspondent Jennifer King.
Sales of previously occupied homes ended a 4-month lull in July, rising 1.3% to $3.95 million annually. That's according to the National Association of Realtors. That's slightly higher than economists were expecting. The uptick is attributed to more properties coming on the market. The supply is up nearly 20% from last July. Lawrence Yun, the NAR's chief economist, says home sales are still sluggish, but consumers are definitely seeing more choices and affordability is improving. The average rate on a 30-year loan, around 6.5%, is the lowest in more than a year. With a cooling job market and waning inflation, there's a higher expectation that the Federal Reserve will cut its benchmark interest rate next month for the first time in 4 years. I'm Jennifer King.
An announcement could come soon on more U.S. aid for Ukraine. Following that story, here's correspondent Ed Donahue.
U.S. officials tell the AP the aid totals about $125 million and includes air defense missiles, munitions for high-mobility artillery rocket systems, javelins, and counter-drone and counter-electronic warfare systems. The aid comes as the Biden administration works to get a better understanding of Ukraine's incursion into Russia and what their long-term goals are. Russian forces are making gains in Ukraine, around the city of Pokrovsk, moving closer to its stated aim of capturing the Donetsk region. Ed Donahue, Washington.
RFK Jr. is scheduled to hold a press conference today amid speculation he will end his run for the White House. Correspondent Ben Thomas has that story.
I have a lot of respect for RFK Jr. You know that. I've known him a long time. Very smart, a little bit different, and that's okay.
Donald Trump was asked about it on a trip to Arizona.
He's loved by a lot of people, and I'm hearing that he wants to leave. Don't forget he was treated very unfairly.
Recent polls suggest Republicans are more likely than Democrats to have a favorable opinion of RFK Jr., and Trump allies have urged him to endorse the former president.
There are rumors that he's going to make an endorsement. That would be a great honor for me.
I'm Ben Thomas.
America in the Morning continues. One person remains missing after that super yacht sank off the coast of Sicily. Here's the latest from correspondent Charles de Ledesma.
Rescuers searching the wreck of a super yacht, the Beasian, that sank off Sicily, brought ashore a 5th body on Thursday, leaving one person still unlocated, as investigators sought to learn why the vessel sank so quickly. No signs of life have emerged over 4 days of searching the yacht's hull on the seabed over 160 feet underwater. In an interview with Sky News, Giovanni Constantino, CEO of the Italian Sea Group, described the design of the super yacht as being the safest in the most absolute sense. The 6 passengers included British tech magnate Mike Lynch, his 18-year-old daughter, and associates who'd successfully defended him in a recent US federal fraud trial. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Today's tech news may make you grimace. McDonald's Instagram account was hacked and commandeered to convince investors to buy a faked Grimace crypto coin created by a hacker group. Chuck Palm has that story in today's tech news.
In an elaborate crypto coin scam, hackers known as the India X crew have conned crypto coin investors out of $700,000 by faking a McDonald's meme coin based on the Grimace character. In what appears to be a hack of one of the social media accounts of the McDonald's employee who handles their Instagram account, the hackers launched a Solana meme coin over the Instagram account and a personal Twitter account of one of their senior marketing directors. The scam, known as a rug pull, involves creating a fake cryptocurrency coin based on some icon or a meme that is popular that entices people to join in and drives the price higher. The hackers drive the price up by making purchases from multiple fake accounts, then sell off their own fake purchases to make a profit. McDonald's quickly regained access to the account, but not before they sold over $700,000 worth of the fake Grimace crypto coin. Comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Friday Sports is in. Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Baseball Thursday, the Yankees dominated the Guardians 6-0 to take 2 out of 3 in the clash of AL division leaders. Garrett Cole and the Merry Old Souls allowed just one hit, a leadoff single by Stephen Kwan to start the game. Aaron Judge hit his league-leading 48th dinger, leaving Cole in awe.
There's no one that can compare to him. It's certainly not walking around right now. I mean, outside of Bonds. So what a wonderful experience to have him on my team.
Astros shut out the Orioles 6-0. Spencer Arrighetti and the Sauce allowed just 3 hits. Ben Gamel drove in a pair in his first game after a waiver claim from the Mets. Houston now leads the AL West by 5.5 games over Seattle, which fired manager Scott Servais. The Mariners led the division by 10 games in June, but have struggled ever since. Longtime M's catcher Dan Wilson gets the interim nod. Paul Skeens and the Pirates rang up the Reds 7-0. Skeens fan 9 on a combo 5-hitter, while the offense iced it with a 6-run fifth. Cardinals blanked the Brewers 3-0 on 3 hits. Braves edged the Phillies 3-2. Rookie Spencer Schwellenbach gave up a first-inning run, then set down 19 straight batters. Adam Duvall 3 for 3 with a homer as Atlanta took 2 out of 3 from the NL East leaders. Nationals knocked off the Rockies. Patrick Corbin got his 100th career victory.
It's neat. I think I'll look back on it. I mean, been around for a little bit to be able to do something like that. So just it's pretty cool. Just you try to keep going and try to get as many wins as you can.
Only took him 12 years. Cubs trampled the Tigers. Miguel Amaya hit his first grand slam and had 5 RBI. Justin Steele struck out 10. Blue Jays over the Angels. Ernie Clement went deep for the 3rd straight game. Mets pounded the Padres, and the A's dropped the Rays. NFL preseason week 3, the final games before the regular season starts. The Colts barreled over the Bengals. Cincinnati winless in the preseason. The Bears chewed up the Chiefs to go 4-0 this summer. The Super Bowl champs 0-3, but they're focused on opening night against the Ravens September 5th. College football tees it up tomorrow, week 0, featuring 4 games, including 10th-ranked Florida State and Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. Iowa coach Kirk Ferentz will sit out the Hawkeyes opener against Illinois State next weekend, a school-imposed suspension for a recruiting violation from 2022. Ferentz, entering his 26th season in Iowa City, will be on the sidelines for the week 2 rivalry game against Iowa State. And Keegan Bradley fired a 6-under-66. He holds the lead after the first round of the BMW Championship in Colorado. That's the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Hideki Matsuyama, who won last week's playoff opener, is 1 stroke back. That's Friday Sports.
Thank you, sir. Well, among the stories we're covering next, the crow that can't stay out of the theater. When America in the Morning returns after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. The month of August has seen a slowdown at the box office this week with a remake of a 90s classic. Here's correspondent Kevin Carr with details.
Hollywood's theatrical remake of the week is The Crow.
What's the first thing you liked about me?
I thought that you were quite brilliantly broken.
The story follows 2 troubled souls who fall in love. However, soon dark figures from their past show up to put an end to them forever.
When someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
One finds himself stuck in the middle, and he's brought back to our realm to seek revenge.
But sometimes something so bad happens that the soul cannot rest.
It's been decades since I've seen the 1994 film, and I've never read the original comic, so I can't speak for how accurate this adaptation is. It's dark and it's dreary, but that's kind of the point, and Bill Skarsgård gives us all as the protagonist Eric Draven, though the love interest played by FKA Twigs is catastrophically dull.
I I saw things. I shouldn't have seen any of it.
But the fatal flaw is the script and the direction. The story plods along, languishing in its own pomposity. The imagery is fine, but it doesn't have the same impact of the original film.
We have a problem.
If this were a brisk 90-minute supernatural John Wick movie, it might have been fine. But between the convoluted character backstories and the meandering plot, it was just boring.
You know that love promises only pain.
The Crow gets 1.5 bird droppings out of 5. I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
Canadian trains are on the roll again after a lockout. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
The Canadian government has forced Canada's 2 major freight railroads to enter contract arbitration with its labor union. Labor Minister Stephen McKinnon announced the decision.
CN Rail and CPKC began lockouts while Teamsters Canada rail workers at CPKC went on strike.
More than 30,000 commuters in Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal were the first to feel the pain of the lockouts. They had to scramble to find a new way to work because their commuter trains weren't able to operate while CPKC is shut down. McKinnon elaborated on the rail's impact.
Our railways have impact on the water we drink with the shipment of chlorine, and they help grow the food we eat with potash mined for fertilizer.
CN had been negotiating with the Teamsters for 9 months, while CPKC had been trying to reach an agreement for a year. I'm Haya Panjwani.
That's our show for today, Friday, August 23rd, 2024. America in the Morning is produced by Alexander Hinton. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.